Hi everyone, Nathan here from Mighty Lancer Games. Today we're going to unbox and build and sort out some general accoutrements, Markets and Barricades, a brand new kit from Wargames Atlantic. Now these are the same barricades that you may find in the Barons War 2nd edition starter box, but they've been released as a separate kit with an RRP of £30 by Wargames Atlantic, so you can use them in a variety of other games, fantasy, dungeon settings, any other medieval period game, sci-fi, whatever you like, a modular kit. So what we're going to do is unbox this and see what is inside. So what's in the box? We have got 4 sprues of plasticky goodness. Now each one of these sprues there's 2 variants by the look of it. There's 2 variant sprues. Each sprue has 2 bases, 2 barricade bases, and then a whole selection of different parts. Now one thing with Wargames Atlantic, you don't tend to get instructions in the box. The instructions, I believe, are available online, but don't actually need loads of instructions for these because they are relatively simple. 2 parts of each crate, 2 parts of each sack. I think this is the roof part for the market stall piece here. You've got 2 bases on each sprue, so you can construct it with or without the bases to make barricades, or you can make market stalls out of them. Let's have a little breakdown of what is on each sprue. So this one has some planking areas, not quite sure what that's for, maybe tabletop area, the market stall, the canopy obviously. We've got some sacks of produce, fish, the bases, sacks, jugs, big buckets, more sacks, barrels, more open containers, and some more barrels. And then on the other sprue we get containers of produce, a bird of some description, wagon wheel, chairs, table, sausages, barrels, more barrels, and a wicker basket. So there is plenty of bits and pieces on here to build a variety of barricades or other set dressing items for your tabletop fantasy. Scatter terrain is always good. So we're going to clip some of these bits off, put some things together, and see what they look like. These are a standard plastic kit, so I'm going to use my trusty snips. The plastic isn't very hard, not like some other brands, so you don't have to try really hard to clip the parts off the frame. It's relatively easy, and being a normal standard plastic kit, you can just stick it together with normal polystyrene cement. I prefer to use Tamiya Extra Thin. It's got a little brush applicator. It's super thin and gives you a really nice quick joint without having loads of thick dribble down the side of your joints that looks unsightly on your finished model. So you can check that out at mightylancergames.co.uk or in store in Bridlington. This kit, the Markets and Barricades kit, and Tamiya Extra Thin, importantly, both available from Mighty Lancer Games. After a quick internet search, it seems that there are actually no instructions available online for this kit, just in case you wanted to have a look. So I was looking at the base here for this barricade, and while there are indentations that kind of marry up to different elements of the kit, so this is obviously a crate or a bucket or whatever here, so this, I was a little confused by that, but that is actually a bench from the other sprue. So the barricade base that is on the first sprue that I'm looking at actually requires you to use components from the second sprue to build the barricade it is intended for, which isn't a problem, but just seems a little odd that they wouldn't include those parts on the same sprue. A little bit odd, but hey, we'll go ahead, we'll clip some bits out, and then we'll see what we can put together from the available parts we have. I've cut all the parts out from 2 of the sprues, so we've still got 2 complete sprues here. And what I have realised as I've been gluing the various barrels and chests and what have you together is that what is displayed on the front of the box is not actually the contents of the box. So you only get 2 of this style of crate. So this is more a representation of what you can build out of the kit, but you would need at least 1.5 to 2 kits to be able to build everything that's on the front there. So this larger crate, there is only 2 of these in the whole box set, and the same for the benches that are here. Now these larger crates, so if you're going to build all the barricades, so you build the whole box's barricades, you would be able to build these 2 barricades here, because you need 2 frames worth to build those crates. If you're going to build one as the chest, and the chest is one of those larger crates and the separate lid, so you can't build 2 barricades and the chest because you don't get enough of the chest. But also, I think if you're going to build the chest, I don't know if you can see that there is a noticeable gap around the top, like the lid doesn't fit perfectly. So I think that what you would need to do to make that look better is trim this top level of wood showing around the top, so that the lid of the chest fits neatly onto that iron band. Otherwise you end up with a bit of a gap around the edge, and I think that looks a little bit odd. But that's just personal preference. The one in the image here does have the little gap, so maybe you'd be happy with that. But yeah, if you're going to try and build everything that's on the front of the box, you would need 2 box sets worth of stuff. So more a representation of what you can build from the kit rather than what is included in the kit. So you do get like 2 chairs, you get a couple of tables, but then you need the tables to build the barricades as well. So you really can only build 2 sets worth of stuff. So we're going to move on to the building the barricades, which is what I really want to do with the kit. You can still build these market stall canopies. You don't need those bits as far as I can tell for the barricades. So the barricade bases are pretty easily identifiable for what goes where, or looks like it is, but my track history of putting stuff together is not amazing, so without instructions. So we'll start with that bit of sack going on there, and that indentation, and then there's a table top here. It's not easily visible which tabletop that is, because they both look the same from the top. So let's go with this one that's got the different legs on. There, and then actually I think maybe it does need to be the other one. It needs to be slightly longer. There we go. Yeah, slightly longer tabletop fills the whole slot in the base there, and then there's a small barrel goes there at that end, according to the base. The jug in the back there. There's a couple of different jugs, but I'm thinking it's that one. And then the wicker basket on that end. There we go. And then the wagon wheel and another bit in the middle. So drop me brush, that's no good. So, wagon wheel, and then another pot sits in there behind the wagon wheel. I'll go with that one. And then there's a gap there at the back for something else. I don't know what that's supposed to be. What's that supposed to be? Oh, stake. Oh, maybe that's supposed to be a stake behind the wagon wheel. Is that supposed to be a stake behind the wagon wheel? Could be a stake. Leaning up against the thing. Let's use the stakes. I guess, really, you can put stuff wherever you like. Those indentations on the bases are really just a guide. And I think, looking at it, there is probably not going to be enough space. Certainly not enough stakes to in the kit to build so many different barricades in these configurations. So there's one assembled, and then let's do another. To wait for that glue to dry. This one's got some crates and stuff on, so let's go for this one. That's okay. And then there is another space there on the front of this base for another stake, but there is only 4 stakes in the entire kit. So you can't build every barricade with stakes sticking out of it. There just isn't enough. So this one's going to have to not have stakes. So it could have one here pointing that way and one there resting over the back. Definitely need more stakes. Only 2 in the kit. Wargames Atlantic. Need some more stakes. So I've thrashed together some barricades. It is possible to make 4 barricades out of 2 sprues. Now there are some gaps that are going to need a bit of filling on the bases there. You can see at the back, these are the spaces that we've left for the stakes. As I said, not enough stakes. But and then this one in particular. So this had a cutout for another of the large crates, but that would involve using the other sprue. But then that sprue has 2 spaces for large crates on the barricade, so you can't make 8 barricades as displayed on the front of the box. You have to get a little bit custom with how you're making your barricade. So you might be able to see there's some spaces left here that I haven't been able to find anything that logically fits in those holes on the bases. They're going to need a little bit of texture filler to fill in. Or I might have some anti-cavalry stakes like what's on this barricade. I might have some metal ones of those kicking about in a drawer, so I will have a little look, see if we can beef up our barricades with those. Might just add a little bit of glue in, stop that rattling. There we go, stop it rattling around the edge. Is that one? Yeah, that one moves as well. Let's just put a little bit of glue in around them joints. So, I mean, I am impressed with the kit. I like the versatility, but I think that you would definitely get more out of it as a scatter market stall kit, as with the benches and the chairs and what have you, than making it, as I was hoping, as a selection of barricades. Because the bases were what appealed to me. You got the bases and you put the stuff on the bases and you've got ready-made barricades, but then you're going to have to do more work filling the gaps on the bases because there aren't enough components. And I'm not saying that there's space on the sprue. They've packed plenty of stuff into the kit. There isn't a lot of wasted space on these empty sprues. But it would have been great just to have a couple more stakes and bits of plank, which that's something else. There's two of these pieces where there's two planks together. They're not nailed together, so they're just two planks laid against each other. So they don't lend themselves to being put on a barricade like that because they haven't got fixings to them to make it stand up. So they need to be laid flat, which just seems a little bit odd. But it's a great kit. There is a lot of flexibility here. You can make the market stall pieces, so you will get 2 market stall canopies in the kit. I need to re-glue that. Get 8 pieces or 16 pieces of like the trade good type stuff, as well as a string of sausages and a roast bird of some description, and a ear of wheat and some fish, as well as the other pieces that are in these little trays. So you get plenty of stuff to put on your market stall, or round is like trade good type scat. So the kit itself is great. I think it could be a shade better. However, I'm going to finish getting these put together. We'll get them painted up. We'll get them on the table at the shop for use in games of Frostgrave, Pillage, all of the other Mordheim, a personal favourite, all of the other fantasy skirmish games that get played at the shop. These will come in very, very handy. Might need a smidge more work before we can get to that point. Actually, I'm just wondering if these uprights, if you didn't build the market stall, could you hack those bits of textury wood off and use those? Oh, they're not really big enough. Yeah, they need the spikes need to be a little bit more sturdy looking than the thin uprights for the market stall piece. Just wondering if you can get a little bit custom with those. But now I'm going to have a look in the bits box and see what we can find. All in all, this is a great kit. I can recommend it because you can get a lot of parts out of it. I think you'll get more out of it as a market and accessory kit, or a mixture of the two, where I was hoping just to make all barricades, where you are going to have to mix and match, as I said. This is available from us at Mighty Lancer Games, mightylancergames.co.uk, or in store in Bridlington. This will be part of our standard range because I do think it's a great kit. But it does need some more stakes to make it more of a barricade feel. So what I'm going to do is pick out some suitably sized balsa wood from our selection in store at Mighty Lancer Games. And then here we are. We're going to get some of that balsa wood. We're going to cut it to the rough kind of size of those stakes that come included in the kit. So I think this is 1/8 thickness square section balsa wood. I'm going to cut it roughly to length, just marking it, and we're going to cut a whole load of pieces. And then what I'm going to do is carve those fairly roughly into sharpened stakes. So this is, here we are, just cutting it into some lengths, and then I will carve it into some pointy-ended stakes that I can glue onto those barricades for a bit of extra decoration. Balsa wood is very, very soft, very easy to carve with a sharp knife. Always cut away from yourself, obviously. Just enjoy what you're doing. That's all what it's all about. Here we go. Gonna just shave a couple of little points on the and cut a couple of those squarer edges off the edges of the points, and then we'll glue those onto the barricades with some super glue. Here we have undercoated the barricades with some Colourforge Ghoul Grey, and then what we're going to do is we're going to paint these with some speed paint, express colour and contrast paint, just to get them table ready quickly. So we're going to start layering on a bit of, I think we start with dark wood and get the water pot handy, and then we're just going to dive straight in, start laying on some speed paint onto this barricade. Get them all done. Maybe should have used a bigger brush, but never mind. We'll speed the video up a little bit so you don't have to watch every single brush stroke. So here's the finished articles. 8 barricades ready for some pillage or other fantasy wargame action. I think they look great. Nice quick paint job with the speed paints. The extra stakes from the balsa wood just set them off, make them look pretty cool, even if I do say so myself. A few tufts added on there, just add to the theme. I think they look very cool. Definitely recommend this kit. Available now from Mighty Lancer Games.